Hi, welcome to Elite Dangerous, and we need to talk about the money. So, as anybody knows, made a few videos about passenger missions, stuff like that. And then I think it was this morning or yesterday evening, started to get into a little bit of a discussion with a couple of people commenting on my videos. I'm just going to try and adjust this a bit. I prefer when I can hear that little bit of extra bass. And I don't want it to be so high that it cuts out or anything. So yeah, let's talk about this thing, okay? Now, I've had a couple of people saying, you know, it was too easy to grind money, which kind of essentially it was. And then I've got another person saying, I don't know if it was that difficult to grind money. It's the money grind is always going to be too much, and I kind of preferred it the way it was. And I obviously in the live stream that I did yesterday, I kind of made my feelings known about it, and I've mentioned in comments to people where I've said, well, in reality, my credits versus your credits, it doesn't really have an impact on the game. And then this morning, before I went to work, I'm quite lucky I have a job where I start later in the day, so I can kind of sit and think about things in the morning over my morning coffee and things like that, so it's nice for me in that way. And I also was sat there thinking, if I wanted to be playing Elite now, I could be doing it. You know, it's my choice. I have a lot of time. My job doesn't require me to. I don't get paid a huge amount, but my job doesn't require me to put a huge amount of time into it. I could if I wanted to, but I don't have to. And I kind of sat there and really was debating in my head. Was I? Oh, sorry, my microphone cut out, I think there. Was I cheesing something? Was I taking advantage of a system that was inherently broken? I didn't think I was. From what I've read is that Frontier had actually put in specifically into the distance missions a multiplier. I think my microphone just cut out again there. A multiplier. I'm going to turn it down just slightly so that maybe it doesn't peak so much. So yeah, they'd put in a multiplier to make long distance missions more viable. And then I thought to myself, you know, take out the money element. What was I doing to earn that money? And I thought it was a bit of a crappy grind. People in videos make it seem very easy because you're kind of trying to sell it to people to do it. I mean, you're trying to help them, so you want to put it in a good light. You don't want to say, oh, this is a really crappy way of doing it. And genuinely, I felt that I was coming from a good place, that I wanted to help people, especially people early on in the game. When I first started playing this game, I put it down for quite a long time. Then I gave up on everything in system. No, I don't think is correct. In the bubble. I kind of gave up on the bubble. I felt it's not paying off. It's not doing anything that I want. So I decided that if I go off into the black, I downloaded a little sheet so you could spot the planets better. And I went off into the black searching systems. And I actually enjoyed doing it. I enjoyed doing it very much, and I actually think that I was very lucky to come along and do that after Frontier had changed the payments on it. So the payments were a little bit better, and kind of, you know, you'd go around some places you weren't necessarily grinding a whole load, but you were making your money as it went on. But to make about 50 million credits, I think my first payment was 48. I spent a ton of time doing it. But when it came in and I cashed it in, I was able to buy a Diamondback Explorer and pretty much buy the best things for it to go back out into the black and do things a bit faster. and then I kind of went out and did other stuff and came back with a whole load more money. And God, my picture's really blurry there, and I'm such an ugly person that I think I'm gonna just switch it up there. I think it's much better. You can see that station, and there's a rocket going into me now. So yeah, I mean, I just felt that it was a huge grind, and I never felt that I was able to buy the best things that I needed until I found these passenger missions, and I did them, and to be honest, it was two or 3 days. I think 3 days, 60+ hours of really grinding. And I finally made money to essentially be free in the game to forge my own path, that thing that they sell you on. I really genuinely feel now I've got the money to do that. I do know that if a couple of griefers come along, because I tend to stay in open, I try and keep it in line with the game. There is a solo option, but I think that if you're in solo, you're never really going to come across pirates unless you're interdicted and you give up, because I can beat pretty much any NPC interdiction. And I don't think that should be made more difficult, because I think it would just be an absolute pain in the backside for people. So I think that's as good as it is where it is. I'd love them to interdict me when I'm in a chieftain or something, when they finally come to the top. But I'm getting away here. I'm getting a bit fuzzy in my thoughts, but I want to get back to that thing of, I didn't feel that I was getting paid off for the hours that I was putting into the game. And there's a couple of other games that I play. I've mentioned this before. The Division is one of them, and I'm genuinely a part-time player. I'm not going to be sitting here grinding, 6 hours a night or whatever, which I know some people do. I actually know some people who love the game, who are hardcore about the game, and yet they don't put a lot of time into it. They're more interested in the lore of it, and they like to bang about and do a bit of here and there, and they really don't get as into the game as they possibly could. And so herein lies the rub, and there's people who have commented on my boards. Let me just have a look. There's a couple of people who are kind of saying, one guy saying, I had a huge grind, but yet my friends came along and they've got the Anaconda within a week, which is not fair. And he has an absolute point with that. He truly does. He has a point where he's saying I've grinded the game out and I've done my work, so why shouldn't they? But we don't always live in a world like that, and I don't think that's always the way to look at it. And that's not being negative against you for your feelings, because I totally understand where you're coming from with them. I've grinded a ton, but I specifically went out to make a video to actually make it easier for others, and there's a reason I did that. And the reason I did that is because I felt I'd overgrinded. I felt that I'd been forced to overgrind. And I felt a bit stupid that I'd been doing all this grinding for so long. And I was grinding. Even when I was discovering planets, I was discovering planets that people had come across yonks ago, so they weren't even going to appear with my name. I was doing it simply for the money. And the reason I wanted the money was so that I could buy a decent trading ship. And actually, once I did buy a decent trading ship, I found that trading was pretty empty. That it didn't pay anything. One of the things that this game, if you ever played the original, I mean, God knows what I played on. I think I played the original on an Amstrad or something. Wireframe graphics in the 80s. I think it was 80s I would have played it. But I do remember playing the wireframe game and loving it. I came back a few years later and played like a polygon version of it and felt like, it's a bit too complicated for me. I don't like it as much. It's not the same as the original. And then when this one came out, I mean, I was very lucky that I'd never really truly been searching for Elite over those years. I'd never been searching for a replacement, and I think that's because when I played the second generation of it, I didn't have such a good time. And then one day, I don't know if I was watching something on the television, something like Star Wars or something like that, and I thought, you know, there's not a decent Star Wars game out there that where you live in the Star Wars universe. I mean, there's an MMO for a Star Wars game, but I was like, when I looked at it, I was, it's not really. If you just want to be somebody in the background of the Star Wars universe and be dealing with the Empire and whatnot, you know, but I don't want to be Luke Skywalker. I just want to be a regular guy. Or if you want to be a Han Solo and do all that stuff. And then something just in my head clicked and it brought back Elite, and I was like, oh, I remember the days of flying from one place to another and selling it for a profit, and your bank balance would go up and you felt really good. And these, you know, these were the basic days of computer games. That was what games were about. I remember playing a stock trading game, like a stock market trading game, and loving it, and it was numbers. It was randomly generated numbers. Well, not randomly. Well, it was randomly generated, but in the most basic way. You know, when you buy low, and obviously because it was a simple game, eventually stuff would sell high. So if you spread your money around, you were always making money. Loved it. Football manager games. Used to love the early football manager games where if you just were really patient and got everybody with 9s out of 10, you'd eventually be winning everything left, right, and centre. And you know, in essence, some of the football games actually in this day are so difficult to play that I don't buy them because I don't have that. My team's bad enough in real life. I don't want to be reliving it in a computer game. And somebody else came up with that as well. They said, you know, let's not forget this is a game. I said it myself. Let's not forget it's a game. You know, a game shouldn't be. You shouldn't be living a second life in a game, and if you do, the time value of it should be, you know, should be adjusted, shall we say, to that. So anyway, you know, getting away from my personal thoughts for this very moment, looking at, you know, I've had juxtaposed his positions through some comments. And in the live feed, I was speaking to somebody about it as well. And then today, somebody who must have just come across one of my videos, a Commander Gueromarinero. I think I did pronounce that right because I live in Spain. So Gueromarinero sounds like something remotely Spanish. Might be Italian actually, but posted a really good post, which I'm actually going to show you, and I'm going to talk about it because I think there's a couple of things pointed out in there that I haven't vocalized but definitely thought about, and I've just talked about it there with the original Elite game and the trading game that I used to play, the stock market trading game that I used to play when I was younger. So I'm going to switch over into this mode here, into this browser mode. And we're going to have a look at this. I'm going to read through it, and I might jump a couple of bits. I'll tell you when I jump, and hopefully you'll be able to keep up. So this guy, Gueromarinero, is saying, there's an illness in the game. You won't hear it on Gattle.net, and you won't get more of a hint of it on YouTube. But yet, there it is. Much like the flu outbreak in this country, I'm assuming he means America, because he uses dollar prices later on in the piece, so I'm supposing he's American. But we have had that flu outbreak in England as well, and a few other places. Luckily it hasn't reached Spain. Fingers crossed. They've got their own flu here. So much like the flu outbreak in this country, it's there. Unable to compete with such headlines as Thad Goid pays Hush Money to X Star, but lethal in its own right nonetheless. We're all aware of it peripherally. Of late, all have been witness to the meat and sniffles, the rear runs, and certainly memorable. And who can forget the quince incontinence? I like these double entendres. Double entendres? No. Bah, whatever. All receive treatment in one ham-fisted way or another, but they are symptoms of a deeper malaise. It's the economy, stupid. I'm not sure if that's supposed to really be malaise. The economy is stupid, I think would have been a better thing. Commanders new and old cast their prayers and hope on the days of Reddit every day, seeking guidance and salvation, only to see their voices lost, echoing unanswered in the dark above. Some brave souls make the pilgrimage here, the Frontier forums, Holy Land, scribbling out their frustration and suffering upon this wall, hoping against hope for a glimpse of the divine, a taste of something beyond the grind, an answer to their questions, leaving more often than not with only the taste of dust and vitriol. Only the few and anointed are granted an audience with the developer, and the cares and toils of the working commander are oft, I'm not sure if he meant often, but maybe oft is actually a word. I've been living in Spain for so long, my English is actually starting to really go downhill, something I'm not happy about. Commander are oft times beneath their view. So the next part he says New Deal, and it kind of goes on various bits, and I don't Roosevelt quote from Roosevelt, something which he's talking about Roosevelt, and I just want to go into this part because I think this is a really good setup to what he's trying to talk about, and he just go red, orange, yellow, green, so it's really interesting the way he does that, but I like it. He says jobs. While certainly no economist, I've witnessed elements of this dark art. As an example, I bought what's certainly a knockoff elite pendant from China. This is a reflection of my means rather than my desire to support FDev, which I don't think you should really be bothered about anyway. I paint job up any occasion I can. I squeeze some blood from stones for $3. I do that too. I actually don't mind paying the extra bit. I don't have a ton of money myself, but I like to invest in what I consider an investment, which is why I think Horizon should be free very soon. But anyway, it took 6 weeks to get here. This possibly radioactive pot metal trinket would reasonably fetch $12 to $25 in a retailer. A markup of several 100% is hardly uncommon. Items more complex than clothing, somewhat less, but not by much. Quite realistic, there is, after all, an entire supply chain to be considered. And that is from China, a trifling distance, in the freest of Sidewinder. If the margin isn't there, neither will the product. And this is where he gets into the meat and gravy of what we need to really talk about when it comes to money in Elite Dangerous. Witness station markets, they have nothing and need everything. The simplest implementation, if they don't make it there, they should sell it for several times as much. A fractionally more complex metric would be based on point of origin, adding some additional but not overwhelming multiplier. This is done already with rares. Currently, a bait with such a laughable multiplier, it, like all commerce at the moment, is not worth doing, which is a really good point. I came with this game ready to trade. Like the first things I did with my ships, I wasn't reading anything on these boards. I built ships for trading. Why? Because my experience of Elite in the past was trading. So that's, that's what I wanted to get into. Famine state, war, double or triple even that. Why? Because that's how it is. Not really, but it'll actually accomplish something aside from pissing commanders off and compelling them to give up what is supposed to be a game. In one fell swooping, mining, piracy, trade, smuggling all become viable in this game. Passive pursuit, game elements to be enjoyed. The rich will become richer. This is damn near an absolute. So why should that not be the case in 3304? The passenger mission metric for distance can be restored, albeit at lower rates. The way that was done was absolutely moronic, and about the most poorly thought out hack I've witnessed in a game. And EA has set that bar pretty low. I think that's a separate discussion, but yeah, you're right. Hello. Yes, I'd like a taxi please to the Galactic Core. Yes, 5 people. Oh, and I'm only going to pay 20 quid? Bzz. Hello, moronic. Did I say that? Moronic. FDev, I think is actually... Elite is already in a beta, which includes payout tinkering. FDev has already demonstrated a willingness, dare I say, eagerness to inflict sudden changes upon the economy with little regard to its consequences. So how about a positive one? The masses are restless, pitchforks polished and poised above the delete button. Bit far, but okay. The real question, is anyone listening in there? And then it says, thanks to commanders for your time. Look, I've been playing this game for a certain amount of time. I don't get angry with things as much in life as I used to. Like he says, pitchforks. 10 years ago, yeah, you'd have found me with pitchforks. I'll be honest with you, his story that he's saying now, I was saying on the Sports Interactive forums 7 years ago about their Football Manager game. I said you're making it too complicated. You've got to dumb it down a little bit for some people, because casual gamers cannot keep up with what you're introducing. They introduced what they consider an easier mode. It's not. It has the same principles. It's just an easier format to navigate. And they've done nothing, and now people are truly complaining about the game, so much that they're not even giving sales on the game. And when they do, it's a really, really crappy reduction in price. And the reason is because they know they can. They want to keep their profit margins, but they're not listening to people. They're not listening to the people that they're selling to. I mentioned it before. The good thing about Football Manager or Championship Manager in its original iteration was you would take a football team, normally yours, that week in, week out lets you down, and you would be able to eventually bring stars and win championships, and it give you a sense of accomplishment. It was what made the game. And you know what? When you got bored of that accomplishment, you pressed delete and started again. And you went through the same process, but you would go through this kind of, you'd lose a couple of finals, but eventually you get your team together and you'd win. But the new versions of this game, you can play it for 40 years and never win a thing. And they've actually made it even harder. And I think that Frontier are starting to do the same thing with Elite, as others are with other games, where it's like, well, if you put a ton of time into this game, we're going to really reward you. And if you don't, if you don't, we're not going to reward you. Well, in today's world, that doesn't work, because people have to work. One person might be able to might have children, they might have extra things that they have to do. They can't put in that time. So what do the big companies do? Oh, well, we'll do pay to win. That'll solve that. If you can't put the time in your time, we'll make you pay for it. No, that's not an answer either. The answer is more balanced and fairness. For example, in order to get up to, let's say we choose the Federation, okay? I want to stick with the Federation, okay? So let's say I choose a Federation, I want to rank up, and then I want to get enough money to, in trading. Let's say I want to get to Elite in trading. I want to buy a Corvette. There's 3 things you've got to do there. There's actually 4 when you come down to it, but you've got to rank up with the Fed, but before you can do that, you've got to rank up with the local people in the station or whatever. You've got to rank up with the Fed. Numerous times. It takes a lot of hours to do that. A lot of hours. And then you've got to... Also, you can do both at the same time. You can do them separately. I prefer to do things separately so that I can hammer like I say, I haven't got a ton of time, so I want to be able to hammer a session and feel rewarded when I finish that session. Then once you've ranked up locally, you've got to rank up with the Fed or the Empire or whatever, and then you've got to start doing hammering missions to make your money in order to make to get the better ships. When you put all this into hours, it can spiral. And I felt even in the videos that FDev did the other day, where they were giving themselves stuff. They were giving themselves the best things and then showing off a ship, but not realizing that nobody's going to get to fly that ship in that way unless they have that time and effort to put in. Why didn't they show you the base things of how it works? I understand, like, going to the engineers when they're trying to show that they have to give themselves stuff. I accept that, but coming out, I think it came out in a kitted out chieftain. Why? Some people are never going to get that. They'd be lucky to pay for the chieftain in the first place. It's a really strange thing, and I'm not saying that I'm right. I'm not saying that I'm right in my own thoughts. I'm somebody who thinks about things and then puts them out there to see if they get backed up. So if another person agrees with it, but if somebody disagrees with it, that's fine. Come into the conversation, tell me your side, because I'll absolutely listen. I think that's the great thing about all this. But this guy's saying that FDev really don't listen to people, and I kind of think that. I was... when somebody speaks, I listen very closely. There's some great speakers in this world. There's the one thing about something like YouTube is great about YouTube is that you can go on there and do Google searches and find some great speakers in this world. One of the first things I do when I listen to somebody speaking is I really try and listen to their words. And if they start using an excuse to cover something, or I feel that they're using an excuse to cover something, I start wondering why they're doing that. It's the first thing I know. When they were doing the live stream, they were talking about how they'd nerfed these, and they're going, but we'll come back and but we're not doing it right now because it's not our priority. Well, if it's not your priority, why have you nerfed it? If it's not a priority, why do it? Because you don't want people making money. Why? Because you're bringing out new parts of the game and you want people to grind those parts of the game. I understand that. Just tell us. You know, just tell people outright. Now, you know, these add-ons to the game, all these new bits, they're all free. These, you know, I'd pay. Genuinely, I know everybody can, but I think that, you know, the game's been out long enough. I've had it long enough. I think I'm due to pay a little bit of money. If I'm on PlayStation 4, I have to pay out every month just to play online. You know, if I truly love a game, I truly enjoy it, I'm prepared to knock a few quid in. You know, so. You know, I don't mind about that. We're getting this free. That's amazing. I don't have a problem with that. But you've got to understand that, or they've got to understand that when people buy a game, and people invest true time, they want to say, and they don't want you bringing down just some hammer on everything every time you make a mistake. Not them. You make a mistake. It's not fair that you just bring the hammer down on them. You know, I'll be honest with you, I didn't cheese those passenger missions as much as I could. I could have been sat here with 8 billion credits if I'd have sincerely sat there and thought, Frontier are going to hammer this. They're going to take it off, so I'm just going to milk it now while I can. And looking back, I should have. You know, when I get ganked outside of a station, when I'm trying to fulfill one of your things, so I was trying to get people out of Hutton, and I'm trying to fill something that you've asked me to do as part of the lore of the game, and yet when I'm flying out of Hutton, I'm getting destroyed and paying 17 million credits per rebuy. Why can't I? Why is that person allowed to do that? Now, I know you bring in changes to the law within the game and whatnot, and that's great in itself, but they're allowed to do that, and suddenly I'm getting a hammer because I'm wanting to make money to replace what I've lost doing what is essentially a community thing. I'm not complaining about you allowing them to do it. I'm not complaining at them doing that in itself. I'm thinking, why is the hammer coming down on me? And certainly the hammer will come down on them in a certain part. But I'm sure, absolutely, they will find a way around that, and you'll still have people ganking people. And I think, to be honest with you, there might be some people who just have enough money to and enough time to go to get their ships engineered in such a way that they'll just destroy people left, right and centre. Or the really, really worrying side of it is that they will go after the new players, and you'll have Sandwiders left, right and centre being destroyed rather than them destroying anacondas and stuff like that. They'll go after the little guy who's just started, and that's something that, you know, a new player coming to a game and constantly being blasted out of the sky. I know they have solo mode, but you know, we don't all want to play in solo mode. I don't know. It's gonna be interesting, to say the least. My hope, and this is the thing, is what the other commander said, and that is that I want him to really look at trading. I want trading. It's the heart of Elite. If I remember rightly, I might be remembering wrongly, but if I'm remembering rightly, trading is the heart of Elite. So let us make some money in that way. Let us go down that route, and let's have it as a viable route. You know, somebody was on about buying an Anaconda. I kind of wanted to wrap this up in 30 minutes, and I've just gone a little bit over. But just to add something extra that somebody said earlier, they said in a couple of in one session somebody was able to buy an Anaconda. I don't know how, because I seriously had to. What I was doing, I had a serious grind before I got the Anaconda, and then when I ended up kitting it out, I then had to go back and do a shed load of missions to pay for that kit. So to kind of make up from what I lost from that kit. But what was I getting at? Oh yeah, but you know, if I'm gonna go from, I don't know, LHS 142 to, let's say, Colonia, shouldn't I be able to buy an Anaconda at the end of that? Shouldn't I have enough money to do that, especially if I'm trading something? Would that kind of trip in reality not pay off, even in the real world? So why isn't it going to pay off in the game world? It's obviously there's big changes coming. The beta is not the true story. Believe me, they'll be hiding a lot of calculations. Some of the calculations they haven't even made yet. You can see by the prices that are being lauded in the beta that they don't know what they're gonna price it at yet. So, and the beta, you've already got a large bank account. It's not about the money, it's about testing it. We must keep that in mind as players. The beta is not, it's not the game. So keep that in mind and don't get too angry while you're playing the beta. People who are playing in the regular game and in open, obviously you've just got to watch your backs for the time being, or even, you know, what the first system you come out of, you might have to do it in solo if you don't want to lose too much money. I'm sure the thing is that a game like this, a game like any game, is always going to get cheesed. Always. There's always going to be ups and downs. There's no way of fully locking it that I can see. I mean, this is a huge universe, and the algorithms there's a lot, and you don't want in a universe like this, a universe is not even in a galaxy like this, there's just so many options, and they've got to try and make it at least, I know that some of their algorithms will try and make it feel like different places are different places, because let's face it, a lot of places in the game are exactly the same as the next. A lot of things are exactly the same as the next, and you don't want people to get too bored. And I think, you know, when people talk about the hammers coming down on certain places, don't forget a lot of work goes into that. I put a lot of work in trying to find somewhere to do Fed ranking. I spent days, and then it turns out that I could have gone to a place that I just hadn't really written down. I could have gone to a place that I'd been at the very beginning, and everything in the statistics or on the galaxy map was telling me not to go back there, from what I'd read. And then when I go back there, I find it's the easiest way to rank up for me, and I spent a few hours and I got it done. But I put in well, if you see the difference between the Empire video and the Federation rank video I did, that's the time that I was pretty much looking for a new Fed place, banging around in my Diamond Explorer, looking at different things. So I did the work for that, and I'm sure other people do a lot of work as well. I know other people do a lot of work. They go and test it out and everything, and that it's not a quick process. So to think that a lot of this money's been gained without work is kind of untrue. Okay, the people who are benefiting at the end, maybe they don't do as much work as the others, but other people do good work. And then there's other people who do a lot of selfless work. Obsidian going out there and doing multiple trips to the center of the galaxy and going around wherever, trying to get these beautiful videos that he puts out. you know, there's people who do a lot of work in it. So, you know, I think it's something FDev really have to think about, is about the casual gamer versus the hardcore gamer. And although I'm in the casual gamers side of the court, I do realize what it's like to be a hardcore gamer, because there are games that I've put lots and lots of hours to in my time. So right, so kind of that's me really talked out now. I've kind of gone through most of the thoughts in my head. If any other pop up, I'll make another video about it. Look, I'm really new to YouTube. It's something that I've wanted to do for a while. So really, I'd really love you to hit the like and subscribe button if you enjoy this video. If you don't enjoy it, you can hit the subscribe button and dislike button, but subscribe. As I've said before, you know, talking is good and discussing things is good. So if you have any comments, leave them in the comment section. Hit like and subscribe, or dislike and subscribe. I'm also going to be doing game reviews, maybe a couple over the weekend, so keep an eye out for them, because I'm going to be, it's not new games I'm necessarily reviewing. I'm going to review lots and lots and lots of different games and different types, and maybe you'll be introduced to something that you have never played on or seen before. So keep that in mind. And thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time I make a video. Thanks very much for coming.